you had a young man who has an issue with the University of Tennessee, and we're talking about one of their top prospects. Was one of their top prospects. He explained what happened to him in his commitment and why he ended up at the University of Florida. So let's go. Let's talk Lagonza Hayward, four-star defensive back for a moment. Rated as the number 3 safety in the nation, the number 35 overall player in the 2025 class. He was committed to Tennessee for 4 months, if you remember. Out of Georgia, he signed with the Gators 3 days after decommitting from Tennessee. Now, Hayward had this to say, quote, honestly, it was like the whole situation kept happening. I kept catching several miscommunications. I ain't going to down talk nobody. It was several miscommunications. Then they stopped talking to me, talking about Tennessee, the week leading up to signing day. They completely stopped talking to me. So I'm a 17-year-old kid about to sign, and y'all completely stopped talking to me. And then Florida never stopped talking to me, even when I committed to Tennessee. They kept applying pressure. So I was like, man, you know what? I'm decommitting because I'm not going to lie. I went down there the same day after I decommitted, took my phone out and powered it off. I didn't want to hear nothing. Now, he also said me decommitting showed me what it was with Tennessee fans. If you've seen my post, should be saw. If you've seen my post and you went into the comments, Tennessee fans hated me when I decommitted because it was like, y'all got to understand, I'm a 17-year-old kid and I'm still learning as I go. I ain't like I know everything. Some of this is tough to read. All right, Caleb, is Tennessee's fan base on social media a detriment or a strength in football recruiting? I have strong feelings on this one. We'll dive into it now. Your thoughts?
Oh, they're 100% a detriment. And I think that what Vol Twitter does, it helps them out. Let me say this. It's good and bad. It helps them wield a lot of power over the people in charge in the administration. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
It also works against them. And I'll just give you guys a quick example. I'm going to bring his name up. And I'm going to walk on eggshells a little bit just because his brother has been partnered with our program for a while. But Cade Mays, the stuff that was said about Cade Mays, Dave, when he flipped from Tennessee to Georgia in 2017 was pretty awful. And don't forget this. Cade Mays was committed to Tennessee. He wanted to go to Tennessee. But what happened? Butch Jones became the worst coach in school history, and the school became a complete catastrophe, and fans nixed to hire Cade Mays didn't know what was going to happen. Of course he was going to commit to Georgia that was playing for a national title that year.
Cade Mays would have been insane to go to Tennessee with Butch Jones as the head coach.
Exactly. Totally insane. So he transfers. Cooper Mays commits to Tennessee a year later. There's an issue with Cade Mays and his father and Georgia. So Cade Mays ends up transferring to Tennessee. And even Cade Mays, after he decided to transfer to Tennessee under Jeremy Pruitt, there were still some Vol fans on Vol Twitter that were like, haha, told you, we knew you'd regret going to Georgia. We're not sure we want. I'm like, guys, he's not transferring back to your school. Take the win, right? And it's that really illuminated me of Vol Twitter's got to be careful. Sometimes it's savage. Sometimes it helps them win debates. I mean, Vol Twitter was the funniest one is, even though I like Penny Hardaway and I'm a fan, when he and Rick Barnes were having their war of words the first year that Hardaway was at Memphis, Vol Twitter got hold of Penny Hardaway's grades and found out he was academically ineligible to play at Memphis his first year. So, I mean,
that didn't help the Powell Panthers as he knocked us out of the sub-state. Diesel 80 says this happens everywhere. Soft generation, dude. You decommitted. These kids wanted to be catered to, soft but not surprised. Then another comment, kind of along those lines. Pseudo Sham says that's all fans. Caleb, I think it is all fans. Now, if you want to point to the Greg Schiano thing and the fact that Tennessee actually affected the hire, their fans on social media, and they did, then you can go there because that's a pretty blatant example of Tennessee's fan base on social media altering the course of the program. However, I would argue that was a very special circumstance that if Ohio State or Texas or any other big football powerhouse went through the same thing that Tennessee fans had gone through, they would have found a reason to hate on Greg Schiano. So that I don't blame that on the fans. So I'm taking that out of the equation. You can put it back in if you want, Caleb. But I think all fans are like this at different schools. I think Tennessee's fan base is fervent, but there are probably about 20, 25 other fan bases that are that passionate as well. I think it's a huge bonus. I think I think that it's won them recruits. I think the fact that because if you want to take the social media aspect out of it, you've got to take the social for real aspect in it. And that is Tennessee fans show up and they love recruiting so much that they scream the players' names during the Vol walk. I don't think that happens at just any place, Caleb. That passion has landed Tennessee prospects, no question about it.
Okay, so Tennessee, here's why it works against Vol Twitter a lot, or Vol Twitter can work against the school a lot. I don't think Tennessee's any more obnoxious or more passionate than any other school. Dave, here's the difference. Tennessee is probably the strongest combination of passion and online presence. Put it that way. So while I think Alabama fans and Florida fans are just as savage as Tennessee fans, I think they're less online than Tennessee fans are. Alabama's probably still learning about what.
Will they not have 5G in Gainesville or Tuscaloosa?
Well, Gainesville, they're always outside hanging out at the Jimmy Buffett bars because it's, Florida. And so they're wearing jorts. And, why get on the internet when you can go hang out at your outdoor bar right down the corner? And Alabama's just now learning about this fancy internet thing that's happening. So between the two of them, look, this is okay. I'm semi-joking, but Dave, I know this because I can go back through history. Because Shannon Terry has told stories about how he built Rivals and 247 and On3. What's the difference in all three of them? On3 is player-centric. 247 was Google algorithm. Rivals was community forums. You like Rivals forums, Dave? When he built Rivals, that was built for people who already knew what the site was. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like, you didn't stumble across it. You learned about it and you joined message boards. Tennessee had one of the first, most robust, potent message boards of anybody. And that was on Rivals. Their online presence was huge. And that was in the early 2000s when, Tennessee was a little more advanced with the internet. I mean, they had a senator who invented the internet, who became vice president. And who ran for president. But the Tennessee was much more involved in there. And Diesel has a good point. Ohio State fans are salty too. Ohio State's one of the few that is passionate, that also knows what the internet is. Here's the problem. Outside of the SEC, fan bases that are passionate don't have a lot of other schools to hate on because it's like 2 or 3 schools in a conference, Ohio State and Michigan, something like that. It's everybody in the SEC. That's why, by the way, that's the biggest reason Ohio State Michigan is the most intense rivalry. It's not because the reason it is the biggest rivalry, Dave, is because there's nobody else in the Big Ten for them to hate or care about. So they only really care about each other, honestly.
I think that Ohio State mentioning them is worthwhile because what does Tennessee have that's different from most other programs? So I think what they have is they have exclusivity. You can talk about the Titans as much as you want, but there's no competition. I can tell you the television ratings and radio ratings between the Tennessee Titans and the University of Tennessee. It's not even a comparison.
Nashville is Vol country first before Titan country.
Yes. You mentioned Ohio State. Now, I know that in that state, they've got Cleveland and Cincinnati, but those two teams have been hot garbage for the better part of 30 years. So everybody's an Ohio State fan. I worked for a company that was based out of Ohio, and everybody wore Ohio State stuff. And I said, when did you graduate from there? Nobody graduated from there. Nobody even went there. They just rooted for that team because their 2 NFL teams were horrible. I mean, that's what they did. So now let's throw the University of Texas out there. Who do they have? They got the Dallas Cowboys, which despite their ineptitude, they're still very popular.
And they have an insane online presence.
Okay, let's go to Southern California, another football powerhouse. Sorry, that's LA. Doesn't count. There's other stuff to do. Trust me, there's a lot of other stuff to do. So I think
And women's
Other
do.
than just off the top of my head, Caleb, maybe I'm missing somebody, but it feels like to me, Ohio State and Tennessee might have the two most passionate fan bases in terms of towing the line to being a negative as opposed to a positive. It's just off
Yes,
the top of my head.
yes, because of the online presence. Because you could also say Alabama and LSU, but Alabama and LSU are just less online. They're too drunk to type accurately at LSU, and
Right. But in all
Alabama.
sincerity, the social life in Baton Rouge is significant. Going to a game is I used to hate when girls would in high school would go to the game just to talk amongst themselves and wouldn't even watch the game. That used to drive me insane. That's LSU fans.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
They
The
show
social
up,
life.
they've got gumbo warming up in their tailgate. They've got lots of alcohol.
They might tailgate and not go to the game.
Yeah, it's an event. I mean, I've never been to anything like it, Caleb. Seriously, I parked within sight of the stadium. And by the time I walked to the stadium, I passed at least 10 dance floors.
That's
Dance floors, like laid out with 8-foot tall speakers.
sounds like
I mean, it was.
I actually remember that too. Now it's funny what we're talking about. Like Florida's kind of its own thing too, in that way, where it's like a social scene going to Florida games, isn't it?
They're a nouveau riche program still to this day. They show up late, and I think Derek even pointed that out on the message board. They show up late and they leave early. And they used to have this bizarre rule where you could leave during halftime and go get tanked and come back in. That made no sense. I mean, the entire student section would empty, and then they'd come back
wasted.
and just
Yeah,
hammered.
that sounds like a blast. Yeah, it like LSU. So yeah, that's what I mean. Those are unique. Alabama. Okay, put it this way. Here's the problem with Alabama. They're too old. Is that fair to say, to be that online? Alabama fan base. It's like what you used to say about Tennessee fan base. Alabama, even though Nick Saban's program had a lot of fans, like the heart of Alabama fandom, isn't it still the Bear Bryant days?
Probably, but see, Alabama's been good for so long. It's kind of hard to remember. They were very outspoken when they're going through Mike DeBose and Mike Price. You just didn't have social media back then. Then.
You had the online forums though, and they weren't on the online forums. That's what I mean.
Yeah, but I actually, you bring up a good point. I think that Alabama in the 90s would have been a detriment to their football program had they had social media where you can reach out to these prospects. I think it would have been a negative.
I can maybe see that because in the 90s, they'd all be like, well, this person didn't do it the way Bear Bryant does it. I mean, literally. Yeah, no, they look, I thought the Lady Vols were going to go the same route. This is actually where I give Danny White credit for being hired. If Danny White wasn't the man on the job, going back to that, where Vol Twitter could have been a disaster. And see, you notice this, Lady Vol Twitter is a lot older than Vol Twitter, so they're less online. In the Vol community, Dave, you know this in Knoxville, and inside the Lady Vol community, oh, no. You do everything the way Pat Summitt would have done it. You hire Pat Summitt proteges, you hire people who run Pat Summitt's system, and that's how it's done, right?
Yes.
And Danny White said, F that, I'm getting Kim Caldwell. And someone said, Feinbaum is famous because of Bama and Auburn. He's okay.
It's also true. He just would play one against the other when they were down. And I would say that to Paul's face, and he would say, "You're right, Dave."
Well, also, I mean, yes. If you listen to the Feinbaum show, do you actually think those callers know how to get on the internet? Okay.
Fair.
That's what I mean. Those Alabama and Auburn fans calling into the Feinbaum show have no idea what Twitter is. Okay, they're out here saying, you got guys calling in bragging about poisoning oak trees and committing vandalism on campus and going to prison for it.
Boy, you can't though. In all reality, I mean, if there was something to explode a show, you can't come up with a better scenario than that.
You can't.
I mean, poisoning the trees. The poor tree didn't do anything wrong. The tree doesn't know the difference between the Tigers and the Crimson Tide. It's just a tree.
And remember why he did it? Remember why he did it? For two reasons. He saw them tape a
Cam. An alcohol problem would be number one, but good.
Number two, he saw somebody tape a Cam Newton jersey to the Bear Bryant statue. So what? They'll take and then number three, he heard he had heard somewhere that Auburn rolled Toomer's corner when Bear Bryant died. And
that guy was off his rocker. I mean, we can't give any Harvey Updike. That's right. We can't give reasons. It's like the crazy person.
He didn't even go to Alabama, by the way.
Who?
Harvey Updike. He didn't even go to school in Alabama.
There's no way that he got accepted to any college that's accredited. Maybe what is it? Phoenix University, where you send
University of Phoenix, yeah,
University of Phoenix, where they send you send your resume and they send you a diploma back.
Yeah, that's probably.
I had a family member that did that. She had a minor. She had a bachelor's with a minor in business, and I'm like, I went to school 6 years, to get my degree. You sent your resume in. I'm sorry. Those two things aren't the same.
No, not at all. Not at all. And that's what I mean. Yeah, he didn't go there. And you're right. Everything we're talking about is like, he's clearly wasn't right in the head. But also, I remember Alabama online fan base trying to make cases where there were stories of Auburn rolling Toomer's corner when Bryant died. But Dave, I think it was actually in honor of Bear Bryant, not like, yay, we're happy he's dead. You know what I mean? And so, like, that's what was so ridiculous about
the whole thing, that the tree had to die slow and they had to test it and all this. The whole thing was so bizarre. Like, if you wrote that down and made it up, nobody would think it was believable.
No, nobody. What? Who? What? This is the funny thing.
He called in and admitted it.
He called this. You talk about book smart, street smart, dumb smart. This dude was smart enough to figure out exactly what type of poison to put in trees to kill them, but dumb enough to like admit it, and it was all being based on an Alabama game that he was upset about happening.
Well, I hate to tell you, all you need is diesel oil. Diesel fuel. You don't need to use the fancy stuff. Diesel fuel will work just fine. Not great for the environment, but I don't think Harvey Updike is an environmentalist. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Steve with the shot out the door. Most Bama fans take 6 years to get out of the 7th grade. Fair.
You know what they say in Alabama, in the state? And I'm not even joking. You know what Auburn fans say?
What is that?
They say the difference between an Auburn and an Alabama fan. Auburn fans went to school at Auburn. Alabama fans got a t-shirt at Walmart.